Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the new Sword and Shield C2 paddle from the Honolulu Pickleball Company. This is a hybrid shaped paddle that's actually using the same mold as their J2K series, so it is 16.2 by 7.8 with a 16mm core, and the handle is listed as 5.5 inches, but with the way the throat tapers, I would say the usable handle length is closer to 5.25 or 5.3 inches. For the swing weight, we got 115, and the twist weight, we got 6.871. Now, the J2K is a very popular paddle from Honolulu since it's a hybrid paddle with a very high twist weight measurement for its shape, while retaining a good maneuverability score at the same time. Because of this, it's a very forgiving paddle with high stability that can easily be used by almost any player. Now, the big difference between the C2 and the J2K is the construction itself. The J2K is your classic Gen 2 thermoform paddle, so it is a unibody paddle with foam in the edges that's heated in a hot mold for several hours. In terms of how it plays, in today's game, I would place it in the all-court leaning control category. The C2, on the other hand, uses Honolulu's new construction style, where it's actually more similar to a Gen 1.5 paddle. For those of you unfamiliar with this, these are paddles that are cold pressed, so the face sheets are glued onto the core, and heat is only applied for a little bit of time to get the foam around the edges of the paddle. This makes your classic control paddles like the Yola Hyperions, Vatic Pro Prism series, and the Jelly Beans from 11624. Cold-pressed Gen 1.5 paddles, like the ones mentioned above, are typically at the bottom of the spectrum for control paddles, with a very soft feel, but from my understanding, Honolulu does a slight change with this process, and heats their C2 line slightly longer than these Gen 1.5 paddles, though not for the several hours it does for their Gen 2 J2K. This makes the C2 play slightly more powerful than the Prisms and Jelly Beans, having more power from the baseline and pop at the kitchen. It's still very much a control paddle, and while it's in between the Gen 1.5 and Gen 2 paddles, I would say its power level leans more towards being closer to the Prism series than it does to the thermoformed J2K. The mold of the J2K is already widely popular because of its combination of reach and stability, and the C2 being a control variant of it creates an excellent choice for beginners to pick up as their first paddle. It's a really great choice for newer players to learn fundamental pickleball shots, and it's still a fantastic option for intermediate and advanced players that enjoy playing with softer control paddles. I think Honolulu made a great decision creating this paddle, especially since it's competitively priced against the other beginner paddle series, specifically the Vatic Prisms and 11624 Jelly Beans at that sub $100 price point. Other than being slightly more powerful than those lineups, the C2 is also a unique shape to Honolulu, making it a welcome addition to the beginner paddle market. These three brands right now I consider to be the best options to consider as a beginner because they're all providing high quality control paddles with great spin and large sweet spots that are vastly superior to the cheaply made beginner paddle sets larger companies make. Now, I was also able to spend time with the J2KC paddle from Honolulu as well, so I'll give some brief thoughts on it. The naming convention is a bit confusing with Sword and Shield's growing lineup, but the paddles that have a C in their name, like the C2 and J2KC, means that they use that extended Gen 1.5 construction we mentioned earlier. The J2KC is basically the same thing as the C2, but it instead uses a Kevlar surface like the J2K. While the carbon fiber J2 I found to be more powerful than the Kevlar J2K, I found the opposite to be true with their C series lineup. The J2KC actually played a bit more powerful than the C2 and was closer in firepower to the J2K rather than the Prisms. The J2KC had a slightly stiffer feel to it, but the difference between the two isn't very big, and you could honestly go with either of them as I found them both to be fantastic choices. The C2 currently retails for $95, which drops down after a discount code, while as of the time of this video, the J2KC has not been released yet, but I believe when it does, it will also be at a similar price point. If you are interested in these, I've added my discount code here and a link to buy them in the video description below.